So have you heard of the vagus nerve? And maybe you haven't, but I hope by the end of this video, you're going to understand more about this incredible nerve in the body and why it's so important as a speaker or a singer to actually start to understand more about it and how you can boost or stimulate it. So it's a real nerve superstar in the body, and it's our body's information superhighway. So it runs from the brain to the pelvic floor, and it's the longest cranial nerve in the body. And actually it kind of wanders around the body a little bit. And I'm butchering this process a little bit, but essentially that's why it's called vagus, because in Latin, vagus means wanderer. So it's not Vegas like Las Vegas, but vagus, V-A-G-U-S. It has many, many important functions in the body, and I'm going to talk briefly about them because you could cover each one of these in masses and masses of detail, but I want to get onto the voice aspect of this. So it provides sensory information for the larynx or the voice box, the esophagus, the lungs, the trachea, the heart, and most of the digestive tract. Secondly, it stimulates muscles in the pharynx or the throat, the larynx or the voice box, and the soft palate. So we can already see there's quite a lot going on in relation to the voice. Also heart and involuntary contractions of the digestive tract. Number 3, it's often also referred to as the anti-anxiety nerve, and it helps to lower our heart rate and our blood pressure. So it plays a central role in our parasympathetic nervous system, and it has the nickname rest and digest. And then number 4, and definitely not least, number 4, is it plays an anti-inflammatory role as a sort of anti-inflammatory nerve, and that's often what it's also referred to as. And so it sends anti-inflammatory signals to other parts of the body. So you can see already it's got wide-reaching effects across the body in many, many different ways, not just the voice. But we're just going to talk about the voice today because that's what this video is really about. It's the nerve that supplies the vocal folds or vocal cords and really gives them life. I mean, we literally couldn't speak or sing without the vagus nerve. So it's so important as a speaker and a singer to understand more about it. It allows us to communicate our ideas, our desires, our thoughts, our feelings, everything. We have to thank the vagus nerve for this. So branches of the vagus nerve are responsible for all the muscles that control phonation. And so by phonation, I mean sort of voice production or sound production. And this is particularly the muscles that open and close the vocal folds or the vocal cords, and also the muscles that control pitch. So 2 really important functions when you think about using your voice. But it also has a significant role in the movement of the diaphragm, which is also important for, of course, breath, which is another big part of voice production. Now, damage to the vagus nerve can happen in a variety of ways. Sometimes it can be from chronic conditions such as diabetes or alcoholism, but also it can be through actual physical trauma, maybe through surgery or, having a tumor or something like that. So there's many ways it can be damaged in different ways. But from a vocal perspective, this damage can manifest in different ways. So it could be complete loss of the voice. It could be a weak or breathy voice, a hoarse voice, a feeling of being out of breath during singing or speaking, or it could be a difficulty with pitch change, because of course we talked about that was one of the key muscles that it innervates. So how can we improve our vagal tone, or how can we kind of boost the vagus nerve? So first of all is conscious breath work, which is on so many levels, particularly if you've read James Nestor's book, Breath, has such far-reaching implications in our life. But for the purposes of this, we're talking about stimulating the vagus nerve, and also it's going to help that connection between your brain and your voice, or your brain and your larynx. So it's really, really helpful. It will also help to reduce anxiety and stress. So if you can imagine, if you're going into a very stressful public speaking situation, or if you're a singer and you're going into a stressful performing situation, doing some of these deep belly breaths is really going to help on so many levels with you to kind of show up and use your voice to its optimal. So in James Nestor's book, he talks about the optimal breath being an inhale for 5.5 seconds and an exhale for 5.5 seconds. So we're breathing in through the nose and we're allowing the belly to kind of swell out. So we're creating all that space. So it's a nice, deep, low belly breath, but we're breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. So it's very calming, very soothing. So an inhale for 5.5 seconds and an exhale for 5.5 seconds. And you can do this as many times as you need to. But as I say, even just a few rounds of this, you will start to feel calmer. Now, another great book that I also have been enjoying recently is Andrew Burns', I've just got it here actually, Andrew Burns' book, The Singing Athlete. And he talks a lot about the cranial nerves in the body in his book, and specifically the vagus nerve. And one of the exercises that he actually provides, which is really interesting, is working with the ears, which sounds kind of a bit crazy, but we did say that the vagus nerve likes to wander around the body. So one branch of the vagus nerve does find its way to the skin, and in fact it's in a small portion of the ear and the ear canal. Bit random, but we're going to try this now. So this is another thing you can do. So there's a couple of places you can try and sort of stimulate in your ear, and you can try the left and the right side, both ears, but for the purposes of this video I'll just do it with one side in the interest of time. So we're going to first of all look at stimulating the ear canal. So what he says is to get your finger, and what you want to do is have the nail facing away from you, have that pressing lightly against the ear canal. So it looks a bit weird, but hopefully you can kind of see what I'm doing. And then you just want to make a circle in here and just notice how it feels. So you're always sort of slightly pressing with your nail against that posterior wall of the ear canal. And you just want to give enough pressure that it feels good for you. And as I say, then you can try this on the other side as well, but for the purposes of this, I'll just do it on one side. So just go round in little circles and just notice how it feels, because it's probably not a point that you often press or touch, really, this sort of part of the ear canal here. So try that on both sides, do some circles, put a little bit of pressure and see how it feels. Now the other part of the ear that he talks about is the Simba, which is spelt C-Y-M-B-A. And that, and I'm going to try and show you, is here. So it's just up here. So there's a kind of like little crease here. So it's not in the ear canal, it's just up here. And then again, you just want to gently put your finger in there and just make some little tiny circles. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing. And again, just put enough pressure that you feel that feels good for you. And you may notice it's different on each side as well. So just notice that. So again, the ear canal, and then this kind of little cave, that's the technical term, little cave here called the Simba. So if you want to kind of actually have a look at a picture of it, you can Google Simba, C-Y-M-B-A. But also, as I say, Andrew Burns talks a lot about this in his book, The Singing Athlete. So I'm just giving a few options of things that you might like to try. And finally, and this kind of is a no-brainer for you because you're all presumably already using your voice, but do some simple humming if you're a speaker. Just do some nice simple humming. Chanting, that might be something that you're more into, or singing, because all of this is going to stimulate and boost that vagus nerve. So you can try all three or one, but see how you feel and see what a difference it makes. So when we stimulate the vagus nerve, we are really strengthening the relationship between our mind and our body, which is so important for using our voice, because our voice is all about that connection between the mind and the body. So thank you for watching. I hope this has been really interesting for you, and have a go and let me know in the comments what you notice, what you feel, and I will see you on my next video.